Hello again, Patreon. Now, in the last video, I said that this time I would be doing Love and Monsters, and that is exactly what I'm doing. Now, this was a video suggestion by Genesis of Androzani. So, first of all, really cool name. Second of all, thank you for suggesting me to review Love and Monsters, which is probably one of the most controversial or unpopular stories in Doctor Who's history, particularly the new series. However, in a video before, I have said that it is underrated, so this review is going to be interesting. So, I don't really need to explain the plot to you guys because you will know it at this point. It's not really focused on the Doctor or Rose, it's focused on Elton and his friends, Linda, as they try and figure out who the Doctor actually is and try and get some closure from him because they've all experienced the Doctor in some way. Their lives in some way have been affected by him. And there are consequences to that, and it has messed them up in some way, or they've lost something because of it. Now, right there and then, that is a brilliant idea. That is a truly, truly marvellous idea. I honestly think that if this episode was done in a more serious tone and taken in a more serious direction, then this could honestly be one of the most interesting explorations of the Doctor's character. Because when you watch an episode of Doctor Who, regardless of which Doctor, which era, whatever, the Doctor will land, will do some shit and then leave. However, you don't really see the consequences after. I mean, there's a handful of times that we have. Series 1 is a prime example with Satellite 5. But more often than not, the Doctor just buggers off and that's it. You don't really hear anything again. But particularly because the Doctor always goes to Earth, it's interesting to see how there will be collateral damage to this. How this guy just wanders in, does some shit, stops some aliens, and we know that he's doing the right thing. But to everybody else, he could be seen as a villain, you know, because he's the one possibly attracting these aliens here. Sometimes aliens even use the Earth as leverage against the Doctor, so maybe there's an element of that. Now, these are all really cool ideas, but then we actually get Love and Monsters, which I still think it's underrated, in the sense that it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. However, what I will say is this episode is fairly crap. Again, similar with Paradise Towers, like I said in my last review, the tone just isn't right for what it's trying to do. And there is some seriously nonsensical stuff in this story. Like, the prime example is the concrete slab at the end, but we'll get to that. But another thing is, this Linda group, they get together, this random guy comes in, turns it into like boarding school, and then one by one they go missing, but as they're leaving, nobody's asked. Like, nobody's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to stay behind for a few minutes. Alright, yeah, cool, we'll see you in a bit. Like, you can hear screams and shit. Like, why aren't they bothered? Usually towards the end of the series, there is an episode that isn't the best one ever, but it's just sort of there. This is kind of the most filler out of all of them. I think previous episodes that have been considered filler, like Boomtown, The Lodger, they're actually decent episodes. Elton as a character is really interesting, or at least he should be, you know? He's this guy who has lost his mother, and it's all because of the Doctor, and he is desperate to find some sort of closure. Like, he was robbed of a parent because of the Doctor's influences, and he just wants to know why. And if you go from that basis, it's a really interesting story, but they just don't do anything with it. Like, it makes no sense why he's trying to get in Jackie's underwear. Like, the whole thing with her is just so cringy. And this episode does this weird thing where it has flash forwards to what's going to happen, and it's just like, why have you shown me the fucking episode? Just let me get to it. It's almost like it was so filler, they didn't have enough filler to show you, so they had to show you the filler twice just to get to the 45-minute mark. There's also this type of found footage element to it, but that doesn't really work because half of it is, half of it isn't. Like, credit to Sleep No More for this, at least, because I won't credit Sleep No More for much else. At least it's stuck with the whole found footage thing, whereas this is just 1 minute he's filming on his camera with Ursula, the next minute it's just like a normal episode of Doctor Who. Such a shame as well, because obviously we're going to talk about the Absorbaloff in a sec, but the main thing that really irritates me is the fact that we had a genuinely cool monster design at the beginning of this. However, they reduced the Hoiks to what is essentially a Scooby-Doo chase. It isn't a good scene, it's a nonsensical scene, and I don't know why it's there. So let's talk about the Absorbaloff. Now, for some reason, Peter Kay has a southern accent, and then when he turns into the alien, he's northern again. Don't understand that, but that's not really the biggest issue, is it? Why is nobody suspicious of this guy? Like, he just wanders in, and he turns everything so militant and like a boarding school, like I say, and then people go missing, and nobody questions him. They just bow down and take everything that this guy is saying and doing. And then you see him revealed as the Absorbaloff. Now, it's shit. It is genuinely shit. And I'm sorry, because yes, I'm well aware that the Absorbaloff was designed by a kid because he won a contest on Blue Peter, or something like that. Either way, the design is terrible. The idea behind this creature is terrible, that he absorbs people and their faces go onto him. But you can still hear the faces talking, but not all of them, because they haven't been fully absorbed or something. It's just nonsensical. And I mean, oh Jesus Christ, the chase scene. The chase scene is so hysterical. It is funny. Seeing Peter Kay chase after Mark Warren, oh my god. Ah, that's literally what happens, and it is so funny when he's there with his little black underwear and his cane. It's just... oh. Then towards the end, obviously, the Doctor saves the day, but Rose comes out and says, well, you've upset my mum. And Elton, rightly so, points out, hang on, big, giant, green absorbing creature from outer space and you're having a pop at me. Priorities. And how the Absorbaloff thinks that he is the one who will take down the Doctor when he knows of the Doctor and Daleks and Cybermen and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, no. He's going to be the one that will take his TARDIS. Sure you will. And then everything gets resolved and that's the end of the episode. Nothing else of note happens. Except of course it does, because there's the weird blowjob paving slab. Now as a kid, this never occurred to me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you're around my age or maybe slightly older, slightly younger, watching this upon broadcast anyway, you wouldn't have thought anything of it at the time either. But with hindsight, when you hear her say, we even have a bit of a love life. No, that's weird. He's sticking his dick in concrete. And surely, if you're just trapped as a living being on a concrete slab with some guy shoving his dick in your mouth every now and again, like, that's no way to live, is it? Surely? She says it's peaceful, but I fucking beg to differ. I mean, people talk about how Doctor Who is always a bit naff and a bit rubbish, and it is. And this episode, in a way, is a homage to that. And I can respect that. I do like the fact that this episode is intentionally shit, I think. I think that's the way that they were going. In my head, that is the way that they were going, because that's the only way that I can justify it. So I do appreciate the fact that it is for the fans, you know? It is a bit silly, it is a bit over the top. If anyone has seen Extras, there's an episode of Extras where Ricky Gervais's character becomes one of the monsters in Doctor Who, like that's a role that he gets. That little mini scene in that Extras episode reminds me of Love and Monsters, just emphasising how shit Doctor Who used to be at times. And don't get me wrong, there are some good moments in this, and there's some humorous moments in this that actually land. So the prime example being the bit at the end with the Doctor and the Absorbaloff. You're not from Raxacorical Fallopatorius, are you? No, I hate the swine. I'm from their twin planet. Really? What's the twin planet of Raxacorical Fallopatorius? Clom. Like, moments like that I think is really funny. Blowjob slab head woman, that ain't funny. So, Love and Monsters then. On the one hand, I really want to defend this because I ironically quite like this one, but I'm well aware of all of its flaws. Like, this is definitely a guilty pleasure story of mine. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 5. I can't give it any more than that though. That is at a push. Like, realistically, if I was judging this purely as an episode and not through some ironic eyes, I would give this a 2. So, Genesis of Androzani, thank you for your video review suggestion idea. This review. Next time out, we're going to be doing a Colin Baker story because I want to show some love to the 80s. I don't really talk about them much on my channel, really. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting me. Obviously, let me know what you guys think of Love and Monsters. And yeah, until the next time, I'll see you later.